This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another sports catastrophe on this day. And on this day, to end the month of June, it's June 30th, 1988. A massive vote takes place at the Illinois House of Representatives. At issue is money for a new ballpark. And the team involved? Not the Chicago Cubs, but the Chicago White Sox. People are like, hang on a minute, the White Sox are having issues with funding for a ballpark? How? And why? Well, I'll tell you what. So anyway, everyone knows that the White Sox were one of the AL's original 8 franchises in 1901. The White Sox were decent. In 1917, they won the World Series, and then little did anyone know that this would be the last time they won the World Series till 2005. For 88 years, which is kind of strange because the Red Sox streak of 86 years dwarfs in comparison to the the White Sox and the Cubs, for that matter, too. So Chicago had the 1917 title. They were favored to win in 1919, but cricket players took money and basically moved the baseball needle the other way and forced the banishment list that Pete Rose is on now. Anyway, the White Sox were struggling along. They hadn't won another AL pennant or a trip to the World Series until 1959, and then the Dodgers took them out in 6 games. The White Sox were decent. They had Bill Fleck as owner, and he put in some great ideas and all that for the fans. Unfortunately, Comiskey Park, built in 1910, was starting to show its age and creaking. One of the oldest ballparks around. And yes, it's even older than Tiger Stadium and Fenway Park. And even Wrigley, for that matter. So anyway, Comiskey Park had some quirks and all that. The exploding scoreboard, the ambiance, the fact that the center field bleachers, they had the left field roof and the right center field roof, and it had not rarely been hit. Balls have been hit over it. Like George Bell did that twice over the bleachers one time. But anywho, the White Sox were trying to look for money for a new ballpark. They were not getting it. And they're like, what the fuck? You know, the Cubs, I think they favored Wrigley Field and the Cubs because they were the lovable losers. But the White Sox were like, we're lovable losers too. We haven't won since 1917. So unfortunately, the White Sox were in deep trouble. So the White Sox wanted money for a new ballpark. So they decided to try to look for the one avenue which White Sox fans probably would not have liked. And yes, that is moving to another stadium. It was huge and all of that. The White Sox owners Jerry Weinsdorf and Eddie Einhorn asked the Illinois state legislation for a new stadium. And it wasn't a good idea. It was $150 million, but they said no. But Reinsdorf learned that it will never happen unless people think you're going to leave. So Reinsdorf hopped on a plane to St. Petersburg, Florida, which was about to build their Florida Suncoast Dome in hopes of luring an MLB team. So not a lot of people thought Florida would be sustainable for Major League Baseball, even though that Florida's got a lot of snowbirds and people from northern states. So anyhow, they decided to head down to St. Petersburg and talk to the city, Tampa/St. Petersburg. And then the fans heard, and they wanted the White Sox to stay in town. So the Illinois legislation was ready to vote. They needed a midnight deadline for the 3/5. They needed a 3/5 majority. The new stadium bill was approved, 30-29 in the state Senate and 60-55 in the state House. So somehow, in some way, they got their stadium back. Anyway, the Chicago Tribune said that the rejection of the stadium bill would have left the Sox no choice but to leave the south side for St. Petersburg. A lot of people actually were like, was Reindorf serious about leaving for Tampa? But he actually did say in an interview in 1995, a savvy negotiator creates leverage. People had to think we were going to leave Chicago. So I guess it was faking everyone out. Fortunately for St. Petersburg, it wasn't the end of baseball talk to leave for St. Petersburg. Baltimore, Cleveland, Texas, and even Seattle were trying their best. They actually used leverage to score new stadium deals at home and all that. Baltimore got the Camden Yards, which is still in existence and one of the best retro/modern parks in baseball. Cleveland got Jacobs Field by the lake to replace Cleveland Municipal Stadium. Texas got their second ballpark at Arlington to replace the old one. You know, the one with the Texas-sized scoreboard. Like, literally, the state of Atlanta, Texas. Not Globe Life Field like they play it now. And the rumors were that St. Petersburg was about to get a team because San Francisco was about to move. Bob Lowry wanted to. He tried 4 times to get subsidy referendums passed in San Francisco, but failed. So he decided to sell the team to Tampa businessman Vince Naomi. Unfortunately for him, the NL owners rejected it and basically said Lowry should find a local buyer. And he did. Thankfully, Peter McGowan, who was a supermarket baron for Safeway, actually did save the Giants for San Francisco. So logically, Naomi was ticked off. However, a couple of years after he had a court thing, it was revealed that he would be getting a baseball expansion team, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. So anyway, it was just amazing what it could do and all that. So anyway, it's a good feeling and all that. So anyway, it just happens and all that. So the White Sox got their stadium, new Comiskey Park, now known as, well, it was known as U.S. Cellular Field. I think it's Guaranteed Rate Field, and now it is. And you know, right, they built it right across the street from Old Comiskey, literally. They tore down Old Comiskey to have parking for the new Comiskey and all that. So, you know, everyone won years down the road, but not right away. Of course. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond.